Afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Reasonably Tactical. This is our 10th episode, so we hit a milestone today. Today we're going to talk about firearm setup and equipment setup. I've been getting lots of questions out at the range, as well as guys in my class, and people just hitting me up asking me how they should set their stuff up. So a couple things we want to talk about first is, one, make sure the right tool for the right job. There's a difference in how you'd set your setup for hunting, stuff up for just range shooting, or if you're a duty carrier, either law enforcement, military, security. So there's a couple different considerations in how you'd set some things up. But we're going to talk about like just basic setup as well as a quality over quantity thing. We talk to guys all the time where they own 10 to 15 different pistols and they bought them all for $200 and they're not happy with the performance on the range. And it's like, hey man, instead of having all those different pistols, why don't you just save your money and buy a good quality, range, combat, competition style pistol, and you'll be a lot happier with it. So definitely, I stress the quality over quantity. I own a variety of firearms, but I'm very particular about what I buy because I want reliable stuff that I know I can use in multiple situations. So that being said, this is something that people can use for range time, for work, for hunting, or even when we talk about the kit stuff. I know some guys, as their hobby, they do the airsoft stuff on the weekends. Hey, if that's your thing, cool. I don't do that stuff, but you might be able to take some notes and maybe it'll help you out a little bit. So let's start talking about firearms first. We're gonna go big to small. So this is for my precision shooting. This was a gift to me by a good buddy, CT. He made this for me as I was leaving third group and finishing my team sergeant time to go over to the schoolhouse to check the block on my first sergeant time. So at the time he ran Old Glory Armory, made this beautiful rifle for me. It's got the Special Forces Regimental crest on it. It's got the Old Glory Armory emblems on the side, and he even put a little portrait of himself on the pistol grip just to always remind me that he's watching me. Just a basic Magpul bipod. I'm a big fan of the hand stops, and we'll talk about that when we get over to the Mark 18. A basic Banish suppressor. And I have a Vortex 16 power Diamondback scope. It's in MRAD. I prefer MRAD just because it's easier for me to do the calculations in my head versus MOA. I need a calculator. And then I always have a red dot on top of any magnified scope. The reason being, I'm that guy. I was out hunting, full magnification. Deer comes up way closer than I anticipated. Missed the shot because I didn't have something else. So from that time on, I always have a red dot on top so I can transition. For sling, I use 2-point slings. I stress to everybody, use a 2-point sling. I was fortunate enough throughout my career, we tested all different types of slings. I saw the old school 2-point where you couldn't adjust. I saw the little clip-on ones that people would have on their shoulder, the single-point slings. And then we got the 3-point slings for all of about 6 months, because then the 2-point slings that were adjustable came out, and by far the best slings you can get. Variety of manufacturers make them. We'll talk about some different ones today. Find the one that works best for you. The reason I'm not a fan of single-point slings, and I see like law enforcement everywhere is all about these single-point slings, is it's impossible for any type of retention. If you're grabbing stuff or having to bend over, that rifle's flailing around. We used them up until about 2004, 2005, and then got rid of them. The death before dismount guys, your tread heads, they would use them because they could have it on. As they got on their tracks, they could unclip their rifle, set it to the side. They did all their fighting from their tracks, then they'd clip their rifle back on when they got out to go back to the fire base. But if you're out doing patrolling and stuff, that's just not feasible. You need something that you can retain, as well as this allows you to shoot offhand as well. And you do that, and this is actually Jerry Barnhart taught me how to do this years ago, is we wrap the 550 cord around it so that the sling can pivot to either side of the buttstock. Just little things that you can do to make yourself a little more efficient and a little bit faster on the range. Also, with precision rifle shooting, go with a 20-round magazine. I just use basic Magpuls, but use the 20-round magazine over a 30-round magazine just because you can lay a little closer to the ground and it's not getting in your way. Next, we'll talk about a regular range shooting, and for training, I go with a Daniel Defense Mark 18. It is the short barrel rifle. 10.3-inch barrel. I am a fan of EOTechs. I've used them since just the invasion of Iraq in 2003. I had a Gen 1 that I bought in 2005, and last summer it finally died on me, but I'd had it for, almost 20 years of use. You get the internet guys that are like, oh, EOTechs are garbage because the battery life isn't as much. Guys, as long as you turn it off when you're done using it, turn it back on. And EOTech has this great thing where the reticle will actually flash if the batteries are getting low and you switch it out. If you do that, then the battery life thing isn't a problem. But you have people going for these much cheaper, just single red dots, saying that, well, they have a better battery life. Well, at the end of the day, EOTech's are much more reliable, much more durable, and it does your holds for you. Just makes life easier. I became a fan of the 3-power magnifier back in 2011 when I was going through a course, and I've used one ever since. With this, 300 to 400 meters, no problem, all day long, even with it being a short barrel. Always have backup sights. You have your flip sights. On this, I have my Troy Industry flip-up sights. For flashlight, I'm a fan of Streamlight. So basic Streamlight with a pressure switch on it. And then for the hand grip, I have a 9-star mint hand stop right here. I was part of that old school where we first had the ghetto grips that stuck down, and then we went to the hand stops. And main reason for this is as you're firing, if you're using that old ghetto grip, your arms are bent like this, so as you fire, the recoil drives your rifle up. If you switch like this and you get your hand in a position where your elbow's sticking out, where that recoil, it drives back into you like a piston. Therefore, you don't get that barrel rise, and it makes for faster follow-up shots. Just little things you can do on the range, make yourself a little more efficient. So once again, I have a 2-point sling. This is one from Sheriff of Baghdad Tactical. Had the opportunity to work with Shrek years ago, and I love his products. And great sling, nice and slim, and it's also slick, so it slides over your kit really well. Doesn't get caught on stuff. Once again, with the buttstock, I have my 550 cord on there so that the sling can pivot to either side if I'm firing offhand or not. So as you can see here, I do have a pressure switch. On rifles, I'm all about pressure switches. When we talk about pistol, not so much, and I'll talk about why. One thing to remember when you're using a pressure switch is nowadays you can turn the light on or off. So if you're gonna be in a situation where you need it, have it on, and it works just fine. All you have to do is give a little twist, then it doesn't turn on anymore, so you don't have any negligent discharges with your flashlight. Where I come from, a light discharge is just as serious as a negligent discharge. The reason being is you're highlighting your position, and more importantly, you're highlighting the position of your buddies. So if you're dealing with bad guys around or suspects that you're after, probably don't want those negligent discharges where people are gonna see where you are. All right, for pistol, I'm a big Glock fan. I've made that clear in all our episodes. So for my duty carry, I have a Glock 17. Basic, just skateboard grip on it. When you're sweating, raining, inclement weather, it's great, keeps everything nice and in the pocket where it should be. For the longest time, I wasn't a fan of having lights on a pistol. When I got into law enforcement, shooting with a deputy buddy, he made me a believer. However, I still think less is more, so I went with the TLR 7A. It is a smaller light than you usually see, but once again, if you have some giant light on the end of your pistol that sticks out farther than your barrel, what's the point, man? There's only so many, lumens that you can have where you're blinding somebody. Anything higher than that is just excess. So why do you need some giant extra light that's going to get caught on stuff? With this, I go with just a little thumb press. As I grip it, I can just rotate my thumb forward and turn it on and off, instead of having a pressure switch. Because once again, I see law enforcement officers all the time, as they're drawing, they'll hit their little pressure switch and it'll go off. In the holster, it'll go off. So imagine at night, you're looking for a suspect, all of a sudden they see this light show in your holster before you even get it up. Probably not the best thing. So one of those things you can do for officer safety, and just so you're not that guy highlighting yourself. is use a thumb press that's actually on the light. I have a Holo Sun red dot, big fan of it. Super long battery life for those that are worried about battery life. And it's almost cheating. It has the same type of reticle with the red dot and the circle around it as my EOTech. So me being a creature of habit, I love it. And it's almost to the point of cheating when you're on the range. I mean, all you have to do is get that reticle on there and you're hitting the target. It's amazing. And then of course, remember your suppressor sights just for the height, because you always want backup sights, because technology can and will fail you. So you always have the backup sights there as well. All right, so now we're going to talk about equipment. Big fan of having a battle belt. Use them for years, and they've come a long way. Like back in the day, we had the old big ones that you just kind of locked around you, and they'd slide around. But now with inner belts, like I have on, it's just so much easier. And a big benefit of the battle belt is dual as your duty belt. You have everything you need on it. So I have a Viking Tactical. Big fan of it, a little bit wider. I've had 2 back surgeries, so it's a little more comfortable on my back. I have Tactical Assault Gear magazine pouches. Always have 2 pistol, 2 for my rifle, T-Rex arm dump pouch that curls up nice and neat. Then always have a blowout kit in case worst case scenario happens on the range, which we train so it doesn't, but it can happen. As well as a tourniquet. You see the tourniquet placement right here? It's on my lower back when I have this on, so I can grab it with either hand, which is crucial, is the ability to grab with either hand. And you'll see when we talk about my plate carrier where I put it there, so that I have one on the front, one on the back that either hand can access in the case of an emergency. And then I have a DAR holster, their action holster. It is a mid-level. Some people see the strap and they're like, oh, why do you have a drop leg? And guys, we used drop legs way back in the day, the old Safari Lands. And they're great for those short direct action where you're getting dropped off or you're fast roping on top of the roof. But as soon as you have to start doing any type of movement, that'll just rub you raw. So we got away from that, and something that was a mid-level on the belt or right on the belt. So when I'm at the range teaching or just shooting for fun, I go with this mid-level, and this strap is basically keeps it just retained to my leg. It is elastic. So that way, as I draw, the holster doesn't bow out at all. All right, for my plate carrier, Cry Precision JPC. I've had this since like 2015. It is my favorite plate carrier. And I have ultralight plates in there. So with this, once again, less is more. I see people at the range with plate carriers or, fellas in law enforcement that have just pouches everywhere and stuff everywhere. But the reality is you want this to be as slick as possible. And the reason being is mobility is the best security for you when it comes to your personal safety. So if you have a giant kip bomb and just stuff everywhere, you can't move. You also won't be able to shoot because it'll throw off your stance. So keep it as simple as possible. So I have the 3 magazines up front. I have 1 on each side. If you notice, they're all facing inward. To my firing side. Just makes it easier to grab and reload. I do have 1, my oh crap magazine, just in case I have to fire off-handed. As you can see, and I know this is a huge debate with people, I do have magazines on my kit. No matter what anybody says, you have them up here, it makes it easier to access. It shaves those split seconds to second off your reloads, and it makes it faster. Especially if you have a belt with this on, you trying to get under your armor, if it sits up there, can slow you down. If you're going to your pistol mags already, you're in a bad way. That means your long gun's down and you're already in a pistol fight. Things are not going well for you. So you want to give yourself as many chances as possible to be successful. Also, as we see, there is the stereotype. We got some big boys in law enforcement where they sit all day and their magazine pouches actually bow out. You can see these guys, they walk around, their magazines are bowing out. When they throw their body armor on, they're not gonna be able to get down there and grab it. So put the magazines up top so that you can access it, get your reloads down. Also, always carry a multi-tool on here. I was an engineer, so mine, I have the EOD one that's got crimpers and everything on it. And then always have just kind of it is a grenade pouch, but I keep all kinds of stuff there. My drills for the day at the range, or throw in, a pack of gum. Always keep a blowout kit on this as well. So So on non-firing side, I have my blowout kit. And then I have an extra pouch so I can throw nods or anything else that I need in there. Always carry a pair of trauma shears on here. Just once again, worst case scenario, and you end up having to cut people's clothes off in order to get to a wound, you got that on there. And then I keep a tourniquet right at the front. So like I said before, I have my blowout kit on my belt, which is a slim down one, has a tourniquet on the back as well as right on the front. So it sits about here on me, so I can access it with either hand. I know we talked about things being slick. There's all kinds of back attachments you can have on the back of your plate carrier. Ideally, you would have nothing, but it's not realistic. Sometimes you need to carry more stuff, especially if you're working with a team on something. So this is actually a Faro Concepts back panel. It's got a nice little medium-sized pouch right here. You can put some extra mags or flashbangs up here. It's got ports so you can slide any type of breaching tools or have a water bladder down in there. So a nice little slick thing, but you want to keep it slick. They have bigger pouches and packs that stick way out. If you're out in the woods or out in the middle of the desert, that might be acceptable. But if you're in an urban area or going in any type of buildings, you know, you got to climb or crawl through stuff, that might present some issues. I remember back in the day going to Afghanistan, you know, working direct action stuff and then going there, and you got these little hobbit hole doors that you're crawling in. I'm not a big guy, and I had to think thin getting through those. Bigger guys had some real issues, so always keep it as slim as possible. And then for the range, just when I'm out shooting or teaching, I have just a basic chest rig. I have my 3 mags for a rifle. I have my trauma shears just in case of the worst case scenario. A knife, because you never know when you need one. 2 pistol mags, and then I have my blowout kit with, once again, a tourniquet down below, just as that redundant. You know, you never know if you're going to need it. Hopefully you never need it, but rather have it and not need it than need and not have. So that's what we got today. Like I said, don't go out and spend a bunch of money. You know, buy quality stuff. Be patient, save your money, buy stuff that you need, stuff that you'll be able to use. I see a lot of guys, they want everything right now. Just take your time, buy stuff, test it out, because what works for me may not work for you. You might like a different product better. So, you know, it's okay to ask your buddies, hey, can I try that? Hey, can I check that out? Make sure you're getting stuff that you like and works for you. But at the end of the day, you know, buy quality stuff that's gonna last you. There's a lot of garbage products or knockoff stuff out there. It may look cool, and if you're just taking pictures in, you know, the back 40, cool. But if you want stuff that you're actually gonna be using, be patient, save your money, and buy the best gear out there. Thanks for tuning in. John isn't here today. He's actually manning the cameras because we're up here a little bit different setup today. But he will be back next week, and y'all have a good one. Take care.